And I have here with me Mr. Implementation himself, Jerome Lewis. Welcome. Thanks for coming today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me, Liana.
Yes. So I wanted to dive in first of all to say that I know that you've been actually in the ad skills community for 3 years or more. And I just, every time you show up, you're always just dropping these golden nuggets here. And I would really love just to share a little bit about your story about, first of all, how did how did you even find out about ad skills in the first place?
Yeah, sure. So, social media, like social media marketing, I found out about ad skills through, I can't remember her last name, but I'm in real estate. I'm in the real estate space. I do like a lot within real estate, more specifically, like broadly, is marketing. And there was this woman named Marilyn, I think her last name was Torres. And she mentioned, she was like, if you want to know somebody that's great with advertising, he's running a special. I think Justin, right, was running a promo or something like that. And she shared his post and she was like, if you want to learn Google Ads, this is how you do it. And I just signed up and I've been like in there ever since. So I
Yeah.
found it through Facebook through another real estate associate. I've just been in.
Mm. And how has ad skills help? What are some of the ways ad skills has helped you?
There are several ways it has helped me, right? So you got the education, which you can kind of get education from anywhere these days, but it's like it's specific and succinct to what it is that we're trying to achieve. However, right, the thing that I really appreciate about ad skills is the community and the networking. So the people, like it's the community, right? And the market right now, that's what people are looking for. They're trying to connect with other people, get other real world and live experiences. I think the general market is like burnt out. Oh, this course, that course, that course. And I am too. I'm like, I don't need any more courses. The courses help, but I want to start connecting and interacting and messing around with people that are live doing the stuff that I'm trying to do. So
Yeah.
that's been like the biggest benefit to me. That's why you see me like they're like, oh, they're gonna change the call. I'm like, okay, well, let me rearrange my schedule so I can make the call, so I can interact with people. Right. I don't need
Mhm.
any more courses. I don't think any of us need any more courses. They help, but the people interaction really, really makes the difference.
It does. It makes a huge difference. That's what it's been for me as well. The community makes a big difference. So I'm really interested too in your journey to becoming Mr. Implementation.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
journey. Yeah, of course. So when I first started, and I started in real estate, which leads into marketing. I first started, and I used to be just like you. Like I used to be at a job, and I did really well at that job. I used to like, I'm like big on implementing, right? So I would take stuff, and I have an IT background. I was working at an IT job, and I helped like automate a lot of their stuff. Eventually, the manager stopped. He started to become like a little insecure about me automating and doing certain stuff. So there's the book, 48 Laws of Power, that I always like to recommend. And the first law in that book is like never outshine the master. And for some reason, I kept outshining the master, which was the manager, and he would take his anger out on me. And I was like, I need to leave this job. I don't know why this man is mad at me, but I eventually read that book and I learned that I was outshining him. So once I learned that, I was like, I got to get out of here because this man doesn't like me, but I still need to figure out a way to like get income and make money. I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that led me into real estate. And during real estate, I had this I did my research and it was like, all right, it's time to stop researching. It's time to go out and implement. And it's like, oh, well, it's a lot out there. Like, how are you going to implement if you don't have like strategic guidance or support? So I started looking into a coach. And then at the time when I started looking into that coach, I asked that coach his prices. And he told me to work with him for like 90 days. It was $3,000, which I absolutely did not have. So I had to save up money for 2 years just to get that coach. Luckily, he didn't raise his price and the price was about the same. And I eventually learned what's in the real estate space called wholesaling. I learned that, and the way he's like older guy, the way that he taught me to do that was through a lot of old school methods. And it's like knocking on the door, cold calling people, and it's like stuff that I'm an introvert. It's like stuff that burns introverts out. I'm like, this is like really killing me. So did everything, and I was like, you know what? I need to find a better way that's more specific to my personality. Like, how can I leverage something? And I was like, you know what? I got skills in IT. How can I do that? And my skills in IT, this is before I knew what marketing was. I was like, I can just do this stuff on a computer with Facebook ads. So I started doing that, and I used to generate leads and do a lot of business using Facebook ads, and that's like my marketing journey. In that respect, because I was doing that, there was this what's called a RIA, in the real estate space, these are real estate investment associations, and they all do investing. And because I was consistent, because I showed up and they learned that I had those IT skills, this local organization was like a pretty big organization. They asked me to help with with their tech. I was like, sure, absolutely. I helped them with their tech. It would give me opportunity to meet and network with other people. And then eventually they elected me to the board of directors, and they were like, well, we're having issues with marketing too. And I was like, okay, I'll help with that, because it's just computers. You just click, click, and drag and drop, and it's that simple. Um, Help grow their group from like, they used to have what were called subgroups. I helped the groups grow from like 0 all the way up to like 100. We had the largest group because of like simple marketing things that I was using on Facebook and some of the other stuff. Eventually, they wanted me to help with like the entire organization, but they were hiring marketing companies. And the marketing companies that they were hiring were, I wouldn't say they were overcharging, but they were not delivering on the results. So they were paying the company that I'm talking about, the local real estate investor association, they were paying the marketing company like $5,000. And I think they paid them 2 years in a row, $5,000 with no tangible results. So when it's time for that real estate investor association to let that marketing company go, they did. And then I was like, I'll do the marketing, just pay me the money and I'll do it. And they were like, we're scarred. Right. They were like, we're scarred. We don't want to pay anybody because we don't have any results. And I was like, well, I'm not going to do it for free. And I had to step down off the board because they wanted me to do it for free. There was still a problem. I was like, okay, if people are scared to like pay marketing companies, how can you find a way where you can prove results? And that's what led me to, when I was talking to you in the back room, that's what led me to like Dan Kennedy. I looked up marketing and I was like, okay, Dan Kennedy gave all these practical steps on how to make your marketing trackable, traceable, and hold your marketing accountable. And that's my like general journey. Like I learned like overall marketing. I always try to go like Dan Kennedy is number one. You know, I always try to go back to him, and that's me in marketing. I eventually started to learn. He would say the person that can pay the most money to acquire a customer wins. And I was like, okay, that's paid advertising. Most advertisers are scared to spend money, right? They're scared to spend money on marketing. But if you can spend as much as you can to acquire that customer, if you can spend more than most people, you can do really well. And I was like, okay, paid ads is the answer. And that leads to my other story that opened me up to like, okay, let's use paid advertising. And I saw that woman make that post about Justin. I was like, okay, that's where I'm going to learn paid advertising and strategies.
Yeah. And if you had to go back to your younger self who was let go because you were too efficient, what advice would you give your younger self, knowing what you know now?
Knowing what I know now about being too efficient, I I would probably I would probably tell Jerome back then. I would probably tell Jerome to be more. I don't know, because I don't want to say don't. I would probably try to tell him to be more understanding of that manager's insecurities. Like ask him what's going on and be more reassuring of him without having to dim my light. I would say, okay, how can you help that manager understand that you're not trying to do anything to help him lose his job or anything like that? So try to be, I would try to communicate and still do the same things that I've done, but I would try to be more understanding and more suggestive to that manager and help him understand that I'm not trying to take your job or anything like that. I'm here to help you. And whatever I do is going to make you look good.
Yeah. And that's a skill that, I work on all the time. Like I call it empathy, but I think it's a skill that we all need to work on when we're working with clients, right? So it's probably made you a much better agency owner or freelancer today because now you're more understanding and more empathy, right? With the people you're working with.
It has. And that's one thing I learned from like Kennedy. I talked about like empathy, like this marketing, like you have to understand like other people. You can't have success without understanding other people. So even now, I'm like, they don't want to pay for marketing. Well, how can we fix it so they don't have to pay and like worry about not getting results? Like that's my entire mission. I'm like, okay, they didn't want to pay me, but I still empathize. How can I find a way where they can pay and hold the results accountable? So, and
Yeah.
that's purely from empathy, like you said.
And you have a really interesting way. I like your take on how you're helping your real estate clients in terms of the marketing. So, do you want to talk a little bit about your approach? Because I think that I haven't heard a lot of people talking about it recently, which is why I think it probably works good. It works really well for you.
Yeah, so I used to be the same way when I first started. I was talking about that organization. I was like, it's all about the digital. And then I eventually started to learn that there's like offline marketing too. And typically when you go offline marketing, those customers pay more, you have more of their attention, etc. So I learned it's like, okay, how can you get these people's attention? How can you capture them offline? And I eventually learned that people, especially serious people, right? People love books, right? So what I do is I help like I myself as well as my clients, like we develop books and now they're short books, right? We develop short books that we can send to customers or prospects and send them in the mail. And the reason why it's a book is because it's a physical item. And guess what they're going to do? They're going to send us their mailing address. And then eventually we can follow up with them offline. So we can send some, we can still sell them the digital stuff and do everything digital, but it's so much information out there, especially like AI is coming, YouTube, Facebook. People are like they're just like lost. And a big part of we'll talk about it later, but you see like Chat GPT and Bing is like, okay, we've been doing search wrong. Now we're doing it right. So we take I help people, right? And I learned this. I also see like Justin, he has a class on like why every business should have a book. We take books and we send them to people. There's a lot of benefits that come from a book, but the thing that I really appreciate most is that you get that customer's information, their relevant information, including their address, so you can send them more stuff in the mail.
Yeah. So why do you think that it's so much more powerful, like even today? Because I know we've heard about book funnels before, and a lot of people are now saying, oh, like book funnels are so, last year they don't work anymore, but they're clearly working for you.
Yeah, they are working, and everything works. It just like you have to be consistent, and I think books are working even more now because people have those doubts and they want the quick. I want to just send it to them right away. Books are effective. It's and I also think people have doubts because it's like, well, how am I going to write a book? Nobody's going to read this, and a key benefit, a key thing that people don't understand is like it's not necessarily to get them to read the entire book. It's just to get
Mhm.
their contact information so you can follow up with them eventually. I
Mm.
I don't expect 99% of the people to read the book, but they're gonna want it. They're gonna have it. They're gonna take it. And the other thing about that you really appreciate about a book, that I really appreciate about a book is that people like never throw them away. They donate them. They put them on a shelf somewhere, and that's like I call it the ultimate marketing asset. That's the asset that you have forever. So
Yes.
sometimes people buy books and then they're like, you know what, 3 or 4 years down the line, they go read that book. And it's like, what other marketing asset has that amount of staying power?
Yes. You're right. You're right. Like, I just can't even, I'm just thinking about right now, I'm literally cringing. Like, I cannot put a book in the garbage or recycling bin. Like, I just can't because it's a book. Like, even my old textbooks that I know are completely out of date. I couldn't do that. You're right.
Yeah, it's like a sin. Way before like I think our times, like people like they would burn books and it was like a big deal when you burnt books. So
Yes.
people don't throw books away, and it's like it's really powerful because
Yeah, no, you're right. I'll look for it's like who else can use it, or can I sell it? And even I even follow like a whole bunch of TikToks where they repurpose these really old journals and books and things like that. But hey, you know what? The information is still there, right? In terms of what they're doing with it. And there's a lot of angry people in the comments saying, "How dare you? You're destroying a book." And so you're right. It's interesting. We hold this respect for a book, right? Even if we've never read it. So that's really smart. Yeah. So how do you what do you so once you send the book out, can you like how do you connect it to and then being able to sell a digital service or product with it? Like what happens after, you send the book?
so let me try to take it like step by step. So what I like to do is I like to get them interested and excited for the book. And then once so they'll get the book physically, but they'll also get everything digitally. And people aren't paying as much attention online these days. They're like getting the digital stuff and they're getting the courses and they're ignoring the emails and nobody's clicking. But once you get the book, you have their address and you can do a lot of other stuff. So one of my favorite things to do is to hit them with the shock and awe. And a shock and awe is like you collect their address, but you can, and it depends, right? So we understand media buying, right? If they pay enough, you can help them, they can cover their own costs and shipping and stuff like that. But you send them a shock and awe, and that shock and awe can contain like other things within it for them to do business with you. So and I have like several shock and aws. It depends on what phase they're in, but one of my shock and aws, what I like to include is I include like some of my books. I include a workbook. I include a Rubik's Cube, right? Nobody's sending this stuff out. So you can send them like other stuff. So I'll send them a box of stuff that they have and they can't really get rid of, right? So they're always going to be thinking about me in some way. Now, that's the initial shock. It's like, go through this package, right? And go through here. You're getting a book, but I'm also including what's called a lift letter. And a lift letter is an instructional letter that tells them how to use the book or how to schedule a consultation or how to do business with me. So the book is just like, it's just like the initiation of everything else for the rest of
Okay.
your entire sales process. So
Okay.
even inside of my book, I have in the very front, I tell them, this is what you need to do before you even read the book. If you don't want to waste time reading the book, schedule a consultation. If you don't want to waste time reading a book, go get the course for this amount of time. So a lot of us, like, books are educational, but we can also use them as sales letters and sales weapons too. And I will do that depending on the target audience is what I'm doing. So
Mhm.
um, furthermore, so that's the book, right? We hit them with that shock, and I was like, oh my God, wow, I got all this stuff. But another thing that I really appreciate that the book brings is it gives us that address. So now I can target them in a mailbox and I can send them a ton of things, right? Sales letters, sequences. Hey, come do business with me. I can send them a lot of stuff, but and these are not my ideas, right? I got these from my mentors and my coaches. My favorite thing to do with that book strategy is to send them a physical monthly newsletter. So because of that book they've paid for, right? Depending on the pricing, I can also send them newsletters, and the newsletters only cost about $2 maximum to send.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's
Which is less than what we
$24.
would pay for a lead. I mean, online,
Right.
right? Way
Exactly. So
less.
that's $24 for that. And that person, they've paid for their own lead generation. And it's like on autopilot. Every month they're going to receive that newsletter. The newsletter comes in a envelope, right? And guess what you can do with the envelope? You can put more stuff in here to advertise and market to them. So
Mhm.
that's why I like the book marketing and the newsletter stuff. That's what I'm applying.
Oh,
Applying.
so are you selling the book up front to cover the shipping costs?
I am, and testing, you gotta change some stuff around. So with the help of ad skills, I showed my landing page and I was encouraged to fix it. And I recently fixed it. One that you recommended, I'll go purchase a course, which was One Book Million Method by Mike Shreve. So I
Right.
went out to purchase that, and he has some really good data on the price that you should be selling your book for. So I'll sell the book for 497, 495, under $5 digital, right? And then I have some upsells in there, and if they pay, all they have to do is pay for one upsell, and they cover their cost for everything. Did I
Mhm.
answer your question?
Yeah, it does. So you're
Okay.
selling the book, right? And then I like how you really see it as almost like an email follow-up sequence, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think a lot of us think like, oh, okay, they got the book, fine. And then I'm just focused on online now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I really, so once you send the book and then you just start sending them other stuff, right? So that my brain immediately goes to how do you how do you track your calls to action in everything that happens here? Like how do you figure out, oh, this came because I mailed all this stuff? That's our biggest fear, right? Is one of the
Mm-hmm.
biggest fears, right? As marketers, we send it out and then we have there's no tracking pixel, there's nothing, right?
Yeah. So I don't have like the best process on that. I do have like certain QR codes and everything like that. I'm still working through the process on that. It's like it's been in place for 2 years. And I'm just working, like chipping away at it slowly but surely, slowly but surely. So I don't have like an exact process for it just yet, but
Mhm.
depending on the book that they order and the website, I can do a little bit of tracking there because it
Mhm.
is hard to like track offline. Like, where are these people
Mhm.
coming from? When are they coming? It is a little bit hard once you start to do that offline.
Mhm.
But
Mhm. But
so
it works though, because obviously you
yes,
won't stop doing that, and you do it for yourself and you do it for your clients, right?
yes, yeah,
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting. So for somebody to be able to do this, they need to write their book. And like you said, just get over it. Like they're probably not going to read it anyway. Right.
yes,
So, and that
exactly.
doesn't matter. Because I think a lot of us get very uptight about, like, I know I would. I'm like, oh, and then are they going to read it? And I really like how you just change the focus. Like, it doesn't matter. That does not
Yeah,
matter at all. Right.
it doesn't. And one of the things, what am I trying to say here? It's just a lead magnet. And so, that's what I wanted to say. So we're like worried about like the perfection thing, which I completely understand because I'm like that myself. But it's like we can be perfect or we can like make money. And when I first published my book, it was littered in errors. Like it was so many errors in the book. And one of the things I learned from my coach, her name's Darcy Juarez. She said she encouraged me to follow the process of someone else. And it's like, just be authentic, like say what you need to say. And this guy, I forget exactly where I got it from, but inside of his book, he put like an open letter to the grammar police in there. So I do the same thing. I put an open letter to grammar police. I say, hey, look, I did my best to spell check and do everything. This is still a work in process. If you have an issue with grammar and spelling errors, then this is not the book for you. You should return it for all your money back. And it works really, really well. It like helps quell that fear of, oh my God, they're going to think I'm unprofessional and everything like that. So that's another strategy that I picked up, and I like
Yeah.
that.
I was in Michael Port's group for a while. He wrote the book Yourself Solid, and I told him I loved it because he would send out emails, but at the end of it, he would say, "P.S. The typos and grammar errors in this email, something like that, are my gift to you." And so
Yeah,
it's
gotta own
similar to
it.
that, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
own it, right? They were meant to be there. Or, if somebody complains, I'll say, you won our Eagle Eye Award. We were testing for that today, right? Yeah. Love that.
You have Justin's book, which I have too, and
Yeah.
like there's some stuff in there. Like it's not like it doesn't have to be perfect. You can still do a lot of damage with these books. Justin's book is like he actually inspired me. His book is like really short, but it's
Yeah.
still a book that people want to order and
But the
physically
stuff
touch and
works.
see and
It
have.
makes
Right.
people a lot of money. I don't care
Yes.
if there's a typo on page 23 or whatever. It
Yep.
doesn't matter because that's not why I got the book. Like I got the book because the stuff works, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Gosh. So when you're working with clients with this type of approach, like what do you find that is the biggest mistakes people do when they're trying to do this?
The biggest mistake they make is they will try to type out the book, which is it's not the smartest thing to do these days. So
Okay.
all of the people that come in and type out the book, they fail essentially, in my experience.
You mean type out
And
the book like you're doing a term paper? Is that what you mean? Like,
yeah, they'll like actually legitimately try to type out from start to finish. And
okay.
what I like to encourage is like I'm like, marketing. What I like to encourage is like video transcripts, right? So I encourage them to do videos, have those videos transcribed, and edit those video transcripts versus typing from scratch or trying to type their entire thing out.
Okay.
So that's the biggest mistake, trying to type it out from scratch, and you like never get anything done. And a lot of people, they come in and it's like, oh no, I can do it. I can sit down, I can type it, I can. And it's like, no, please just follow the process. Everybody that follows the process, they succeed. The ones that don't, they have failed. I'm telling you, like 0% of the people that tried to type it out, they succeed. None of them succeed because they're trying to type it out and they think they know what's best.
Mm-hmm. One thing I've noticed with you, Jerome, and this is why I love working with you, is just even in this short period of time, you've kind of referenced your mentors and books and stuff you've done. But I think what really sets you apart is you actually, well, like your name is Mr. Implementation, like you've literally just implemented it. And, I think that that's one of the huge reasons for your success is because you're learning and you're implementing. So many people just they just buy courses and books and stuff like that and just read it and they do nothing with it. So I'm just curious, like what kind of goes through your brain to be like, yes, like I'm just going to do it? Because so many people don't, right? They don't take action at all. And I just love you're always bringing me new ideas and things that you learned from books. And then you showed me, oh, I did it. And here's the results.
So it's really hard because to say like what it is, because it's like really nothing behind it other than just to do it, like to go on and try. And like again, we're like media buying, marketing. It's like, what is marketing? It's a bunch of testing. So go get the result as fast as you can, see what happens, come back to the drawing board. And that's how I'm always thinking about things. It's like, Jerome, you're so smart. I'm not smart. I go implement. I'm doing stuff, right? And there are some people, and I always bring this up when I'm like teaching some of my students. I'm like, you ever see somebody and you're like, that guy's not even that bright, but he's out there succeeding because he's trying. And I'm a version of that, right? I'm not that smart. It seems like I'm smart because I'm implementing, I'm going out and I'm doing that stuff. But I just follow what works, right? I'm telling you, I jumped on the ask because I said, what do I need to fix about this landing page? Y'all said, go do this. And I was like, you know what? Yes, I will. I listen. I'm going out and I'm implementing. I'm listening to people that are smarter than me, and I'm just moving. Like the just do it. Like it's never, ever going to be perfect.
Mhm.
Never going to be perfect. You just got to go out there, get your results, and keep coming back. Like you told me, you said, how do you track it? I don't know exactly, but I'm working on it. I'm going to keep putting stuff in place. If I try to get it perfect,
Yeah.
I'm not going to have any results. Like, yes,
Yeah.
you want to prepare the best you can, but it's never going to be perfect.
Yep.
Never going to be perfect.
Yeah. And you do it quickly. That's another thing that I noticed about you too. I said, "Hey, do you want to be on the podcast?" And you're like, "Yes." I gave you the link, and probably like within 2 minutes, you had booked for the next day. Right.
Yep.
So you just
Yes.
do it. That's what I
Yeah.
love about you. You just do it, but you're doing it intentionally. You're not, right? There's
Yes.
a difference, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. So what do you wish people would ask you more often in terms of what you do and how you do it?
Um, what do I wish they would ask me more often? Think that you've taken care of that. Is like when you ask me like about the implementation, like what's the secret behind it? And it's like there's really no secret. And I'm not like I do acknowledge that I have some skills and I have some talents. Everybody has skills and talents, but like when it comes to implementation, that's what I'm doing. I like people. I want people are like, how do you get so much done? I go out and I do it. That's what I do. I go do it. I go apply it. Like I'm not analysis paralysis, freezing, trying to figure out every little detail. What if this happens? What if this happens? I was on a call with a one of my other coaches, right, in regards to like short-term rentals, and this woman popped on, which I admire her bravery because she said, I have what if syndrome. I'm like, I don't have what if syndrome. I'm like,
Mhm.
look, I'm gonna find out. There's no what if. Let's find out what's happening. And it might get you in a little bit of trouble, maybe here and there, but mostly like you're gonna get like great results from going out and implementing, trying and
Right.
doing things.
Yeah. So you find an idea, a proven idea, and then you just do it, right? What a
Yes.
concept, right?
Exactly. 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 That's the magic. That's the
Yeah.
magic.
Yeah. Wow. And I'm curious, like what most attracted you to serving the real estate market specifically?
When I was the story I was telling you a little bit earlier, it's like, oh, go invest in real estate. It seemed like it made the most sense to like hit real estate, and they got this like quote that they say most millionaires are made through real estate. So I was in real estate. I still do like real estate stuff, and I was like, just like, you know what? These people need help marketing, branding, media buying. So I just stuck to my niche.
Mhm.
There's like certain ways, and it's like one of the groups is affinity. I'm already in that niche in that industry, so I just like, you know what? I'll just bring marketing and ad buying, media buying
Mhm.
to it. That's
Mhm.
why I chose real estate.
Yeah. And what are your plans? I'm like curious, like where do you see yourself in, next year, or 5 years, 10 years? Like what are your what I'm just really curious because I know that you have so much energy and you're doing things. And I'm just really curious what you feel your vision is for where you're headed.
I think so. Like the book that I was telling you about, like the Get Rich Guide to Information Marketing. I think that's going to be my plan and my vision. There's a pyramid in there, so I need to be more intentional. But I'm just going to ascend that pyramid and that ladder, and I want to build products for like my niche, like the real estate niche, and I want to build like products in ways that I can serve people within a real estate niche. So
Mhm.
next year, like a 1 year goal, I would like to have a membership and a community up like ad skills, but
Mhm.
just for my niche, right? I want to
Yeah.
have people in there learning media buying, learning ads, learning marketing, and I'm going to have that community. And then I'll have like different products that I can offer to them
Right.
overall, like
Yeah.
individual coaching, group coaching, stuff like that. So that's
Mhm.
within a year.
Mhm.
3 years, I can't find the ladder or the rung, but I'll be like 3 steps up and,
Mhm.
kind of going from there.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, and I know it's going to happen because you're going to do it. You're going to implement it.
Exactly. The magic.
That's the magic. Yes. Oh man. So, and we were talking a little bit too about just how the world is changing so fast. Like I was just speaking with the Alex McCarsky earlier today, and he said, as soon as we finish talking, like it's all going to be out of date. Like literally right after we finish talking, it's like it's not even relevant anymore. Right. I mean, we're living in such interesting times, like what do you think is going to be one of the most disruptive things to happen this year?
So I think the most disruptive thing is already happening. And I think it is, and it's not even like we're calling it AI and it's not really AI just yet, but
Hmm.
it's happening so fast. So I think AI is doing it right now. And we see like Microsoft, I think it was like Facebook and some of the big tech companies, they did like a lot of layoffs. And right before they did those layoffs, and then I started seeing like artificial intelligence come out, and I was like, okay, those people are losing jobs, we're already losing jobs. And then I'm like playing with watching the courses, playing with some of the tools, learning and ad skills. I'm like, okay, AI is doing this. And like Chat GPT just recently came out and it showed you like how to do all of this stuff. You can do so much within it, right? Even like what I'm talking about, like you can write a book. You can write
Mm-hmm.
a book in Chat GPT like pretty easily if you know how to do it. You use the right tools. So I see artificial intelligence being like the most disruptive. And however, right, I don't want to just be like fear-based doom and gloom. However, I think we can still get out in front of it if we learn how to maximize ourselves as people, as humans. If we can leverage those tools and maximize those tools. So that's one of the things that I appreciate, right,
Mm-hmm.
about the ad skills community, because Justin is like leading it. He's like, get out in front of this. So you don't want,
Yes.
so you're not one of the people that get hurt.
Yeah.
More specifically, like ChatGPT was great, but I've been playing around a lot with Midjourney, and I'm like, whatever I tell it to do, like create like graphics, it does it. And I'm like, oh my God, this is like literally taking jobs from graphic designers and creatives, because you
Mm-hmm.
don't need like Photoshop people anymore, like most of them. You still
Mm-hmm.
need somebody that can understand how to use Midjourney and maybe take the picture and use that in Photoshop. But the
Mm-hmm.
general people that are like general information, like, hey, create me a graphic, right? I was in there earlier. I was like, create me a graphic with Super Mario with golden boots. And it
Mm-hmm.
created that graphic for me, like in less than 60 seconds.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what I see in being as the most disruptive. And however, we can combat it, right? Those that are willing to be rebellious, the rebels, the ones that are not afraid to deviate from the norm, they can combat it by getting out in front of this thing. And
Mm-hmm.
whoever's listening, I like highly encourage you to join like the Ad Skills, the community, like the live community, the live coaching, because that's where all the real stuff is happening.
Yes, it is. And things are moving so fast. I've always found it so helpful to have a group that is literally like in the trenches, what's happening and what are you doing? And you're right, like we need all the support we can get for each other because things are happening so quickly.
So
Um,
fast.
yeah, it's just crazy. Like I was thinking about when the Martech world kind of exploded, and that just looks like it was moving so slow next to what's happening right now. So it's just really hard to get your head around, so it's just crazy.
Yeah, I think about
Crazy.
and I wasn't like born. I don't think I was born during those times, but I think about like the Industrial Revolution, and they talk about how like people just like lost their jobs like right from underneath them. And I'm
Mhm.
like, oh my God, we're kind of experiencing a version of that now. Like the AI is coming so fast, and I'm watching people not pay attention. And I'm
Yeah.
like, wake up. Look, it's taking jobs like right before us. The you switch to Bing, it's like, oh my God, look what they're doing with Bing. It's like it's no longer just a search thing. It's like creating whole itinerary. So that's another thing. I was like, oh my God, the travel agents are in trouble because now the computer is doing it.
Mhm.
So,
Yes. Yeah. Well, I think that probably sounds like a topic for your next book, right?
oh yeah, yeah. Sounds like a good
How to
one.
get ahead of
Absolutely.
things. I love your attitude about that because there's so many people are so fearful. And I really love your attitude about like, no, let's just like learn more about it. Get
Yes,
ahead, right? What are you afraid of? It's not going to bite you, right?
exactly.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I just wanted to really thank you so much. I enjoy spending time with you every time. There's so many, I just love your idea, your energy, and you motivate me to implement even more as well. So thank you so much for joining me here today, Jerome. And,
Thank you.
for everybody watching or listening, what do you think? Do you agree with Jerome? Let us know in the comments or on social media and join me next time for another exciting episode. So I'm Liana Ling, and